Goodness, 37 years.
There you go. Start when I was born.
So my mom and dad raised me, and they taught me how to work. Yeah, and the rest of my family supported me in that. Actually, I started at Auburn and bead and flare operator, and became quite bored with that very fast. Decided they saw something in me and made me a tube bender, and from that, there was a man named Art King, who was a little Chinese man who had been there for about 60, well, he was 65 years old, but he'd been there for about 30-some years, and he gave me the knowledge in art how to bend a tube properly and the mathematical aspect of how material moves. And from that, that was my job for quite some time. So went to aerospace, worked on some hard mobile launchers, all kinds of activities that I can't talk about. No, that's not true. I could talk about any of it. But so I did that, and then got into developmental manufacturing in '90. And from there, was bending tubes for them, did the, on the Iron Bird, on the Strongback, was the very first wing I worked on, and the folding wing 777. And so Mr. Cutler, and some people know that young man, or elderly man, Mike Cutler. Yeah, so there was some old guys I worked with. I saw Doug Pompey there the very first time. So then went up to the ISO building, did the Iron Bird up there, took a long vacation, went to Australia for 6 weeks, and then when I came back, I went to the Everett plant to do the fatigue, static and fatigue airplane 777. From that, came back down here, rebuilt all the MTS machines in the 9120 with a group of guys, and then I started doing temporary management. After I went to rented, came back here off and on temporary management. Did my first gig in the 240 building that's now a parking lot. So that was always fun, and then got into management full time 10 years ago. And then, then after that I got into senior management in safety. So I did that for 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And TSO kind of dissolved a little bit, went into flight test and lab test. And then I came back here and was managing the strain gauge lab. So that's my full circle. Yeah, in so many words. I left a few days out. Yeah, but thanks for asking, Chuck.
So speaking of managing the strain gauge lab, this guy managed the strain gauge lab like no other boss that I've ever had.
You sure do.
I'm thrown out here, but I'm retired Air Force. I got my Mach 1 plane. I did get Mach 1.01 by driving the F-86 straight down to 100%. And that's the only way we could get Mach 1 because we had bomb pylons on. I was in ground support. The MiG killers were on the other side of the base at Suwon back in 53, 54. I came back from the Air Force and was a flight instructor, and of course before I went over, I met my beautiful angel, Angelina de Luna, Angel of the Moon. And that's the name of was on my airplane. But I got transferred to I was at Laredo Air Force Base. That's where I went through pilot training and met her. But I got a chance to put in for AFIT, and I went to Florida State on my semi-ho, a half-assed Indian from Tallahassee. Not an Oklahoman, not a Sooner or a Texas hook'em horns and so forth. And first son was born in Laredo. My daughter was born in Tallahassee, and he was born in Tallahassee. And my first assignment out of meteorology school was chief forecaster at Zaragoza, Spain, and we left over there. He was only 5 months old, and he grew up in the first 3 years in Zaragoza, Spain, and could understand. He did speak some Spanish when he came back, as did his sister and his older brother, but They don't speak too much of it now. But,
Only the good words.
I ended up back to Laredo, and from Laredo, hoping to get into fighters again. I was owned by the Weather Service. I didn't realize that, and I got sent to McCord. I thought it was going to be 106s, Mach 2.2, straight and level, and nothing like that, and that'd be too bad. And I said, but Tom, you got a Century Series aircraft, all right. A Douglas aircraft it turned out to be, C-124, old Shaky, the Goldmaster II. So I'm the last Goldmaster pilot for the 62nd Wing. And one day, coming back from a long trip, a flight engineer said, where are you going when we get back on our crew rest? He's going back up to the mountains, going deer hunting when you want to come. So that's how we got involved in the elk hunting and deer hunting. And being this, living in a house just 2 blocks from the northeast corner of Fort Lewis, that's where both he and his older brother and younger brother I'd learned to deer and elk hunt on the tank trails at Fort Lewis. And so he got out there and did a lot of that. And my flight engineer was Big Buck. His wife was Little Doe. And my fighter squadron's headhunter, so I'm looking for a trophy head.
Okay.
Trophy headhunters. That was my call sign on the CB, and his other brother was 3-point because he shot a 3-point deer. And we put in for cow tags the very first year we elk hunted. I got one, he got one. And so from that time on, he filled everybody else's cow tag, and his call sign was Cow Killer. I promised I wouldn't embarrass him. I'm not going to tell you the story about chasing the elk down through our little elk camp, and
You're
one
telling it now.
went right through there. And I'm not going to tell you about that, where his gun was, but it wasn't on him, but he was sitting on this log.
Putting that together was a train wreck waiting to happen. And I was waiting for that train wreck. But somehow, Tony is like this great supervisor. And I know I'm the union steward, and I might get in trouble for this, but he's like a really great supervisor. And he managed to put us together and get us through, all of the issues and just, put us together as a team. And we all were very afraid that wouldn't happen, but he did, and we all appreciate it. And thank you so much for being there for us and when we needed you.
Thank you. All I need to do now. I just need now to get him an oven.
Where's my oven?
Got the rotisserie for him.
Tony was never my supervisor, but I have had the honor to know this man. When it comes to a supervisor, I got to feel comfortable enough to know that whatever's going on in my life, I could go to them. I don't trust everybody, but I did trust him. I believe that anything that I said to this man, you got a good husband, that he had an ear to hear. And I am so thankful for the time that I did share with you, Tony. And I'm going to miss you, but this is the beginning of your life. And don't look back, please. Don't look back. Don't look back.
So Tony was one of the safety managers when we both hired at the same time for VTD Safety. We took you away from FAST, and then you ran and ran
Yes.
back to FAST. So one of the main things I learned from Tony actually wasn't work-related. He's the one that taught me about salmon. Because in the Midwest, we have catfish and trout. So I'm like, we're going to get salmon. He says, well, which kind? I'm like, what do you mean? There's more than one? So he taught me all about salmon and how to cook salmon like y'all do up here. So that's one thing we talk about. And then we had your first grandchild, and you and Joan had me and my daughter in at one point. How are you doing? I haven't seen you for a while. So a lot of good conversation all the way through safety in the early days with VTD. So
No, we had a great time, and we had a good team. And
we do. Still do. Leslie's here,
Hi, Leslie.
and Mike came too. So all representing the rest of the team here,
Yes.
of what's left of the original team, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
so
Yeah.
we ran out of one of our other meetings, and so we need to get over, and
Joe?
yeah, and Pablo's here and stuff, so this is cool.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we're here.
I appreciate you coming up here, and, are you still having salmon?
Yes, actually, I still have some left in my freezer, and depending on what time I get out this afternoon before my flight tonight, because there's a new route back, I already got orders from Barbara to bring salmon back so she can have it up in Kansas. So
Good.
So yeah, Pike's Market's on my list, and I'll be back next week. So I'm sure I'll be hitting the market before I go.
Thank you.
So thank you. It's been great. Gonna miss you. We were on IM every day. John Martell and Mike are now on IM. So trying to keep the faith on safety stuff. So
Good.
left a good legacy.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to second the motion on that. One of Tony's greatest attributes is he listens like, okay, how does this work? But he graciously finds his way through it, so appreciate working with you.
Tony and I had this one very small office that we shared, and there was a picture of a husky on one side and a cougar on the other side. And during November, Tony had brought in these 2 key rings for one for cougar, one for husky, and we were just playing off, and to the point that people were finally just shutting the door. So I gave, I've always really had a close feeling for Tony, just because because of that whole year of being in the office together. But we've kind of crossed paths all the way through.
Numerous times.
Yeah, in various times out there. So it's just been a real honor. One, I'm very jealous that he's out before I am, because I always feel like he's my little brother. And so it's just really a cool time for you guys, and for Joan and your folks to be here to see you and stuff too. So what a special guy, and we'll keep in touch, because it was funny, because I was telling the kids, okay, now Tony Solis retired. He says, we'll get his number. We need the baseball tickets. But Tony, thank you so much. It's really good.
Appreciate it. And it's one of those things it gets emotional, and those are the kind of things that I try not to think about, especially right now.
We're going to miss you too.
Thank you.
I'm not going to miss you.
My buddy Jeff.
I want to say one thing. Your comments about my son. We never knew what he did here. And that's really something to. He's got a sister. She's a bulldog from Gonzaga, and then a husky because he went to med school here. His older brother, and the younger brother, another younger brother. There's 5 boys. We had a basketball team and a cheerleader. They're all Cougars, and so at home, and when football comes along or basketball, I'm a Sooner. But I didn't go to OU.
Because he grew up in Oklahoma.
And I ran the track on the Aggie relays. So I'm not a cowboy. I'm a semi-hole. FS Indian from Tallahassee, from Florida State. And all my in-laws and outlaws are in Texas. His in-laws and outlaws, they're either cowboys or they got one. He pushes the Cowboys. We got him converted over to a Seahawk. But
Thank you. Easy is understanding that yet. Monday morning, it'll be like a day of vacation. Tuesday will be a longer day. But I can tell you, in a couple of weeks, it's going to sink in that well, for one moment, I'm going to feel like I have nowhere to go.
So Joan gives you her honeydew list.
Well, I already see that, remodeling the upstairs. That's.
You might be working harder.
Yeah, there's that, there's all the farming that I could do in Eastern Washington. I've had a couple job offers, I'm not going to take any up right now. I need to, be able to relax. And my dad and I are going fishing.